Hi everyone, it's Robin and welcome back. Today I'd like to share with you my tips and tricks for preparing for a camping trip. So if you stopped by my channel before, you will probably know that my family and I do a lot of camping throughout the summer and into the fall. It's like our major form of vacation. We do a couple trips every year that are 1 week long, and then we do quite a few little ones in between all that. So I thought I would share with you today some of the things that I do to prep for camping and to keep myself organized, and hopefully they will be helpful for you. So there's 3 things that I want to talk to you about. The first thing is to prepping your equipment, your food, your clothes, that sort of thing. The second thing I'd like to talk to you about is often forgotten items that come in very useful when you're camping. And third, I'd like to talk to you about what I do after we get home from camping to prep for the next time. Before I get you further, let me explain our personal camping situation. So 10 years ago we bought our very first camper, and it was awesome and it worked well for us when our kids were little. But 2 years ago we decided we needed to upgrade our camper. So now we have a larger camper. It is a 5th wheel, and I'll show you a quick little clip. So that is the camper that we have. It is a Cyclone, and it is a toy hauler, which means it's got a big section in the back that holds, for us, ATVs. It's just like a big garage in the back that you can put kayaks, dirt bikes, motorcycles, ATVs, and that sort of thing. So that is the camper that we have been using the last 2 years, and we are very spoiled. However, we do not store our camper at our home. We store it at my parents' house, which is about an hour and a half away. With our camper not being with us, we cannot just bring in a little bit here and a little bit there leading up to the day that we leave for camping. It's gather everything, transport everything, get it to the camper, unload it, and then from there we go to our camping trip. So it's a little bit different than most people, I think, in the fact that we don't have our camper with us to load at a leisurely pace. It's all at once and then we're off. With that being said, I need to be very organized in how I go about camping. Otherwise we'll get out into the woods and not have what we need. So let's talk about pre-packing your camping supplies. The very first thing you need to do, whether you're camping in a tent or in a camper, is you need to gather your basic supplies. Your basic supplies for sleeping, eating, that sort of thing. How are you going to cook your food? Are you going to use a grill? Are you going to use air mattresses in a tent? Are you going to bring sleeping bags, or are you going to just bring blankets? That sort of thing needs to be made. You need to make those decisions ahead of time and gather your supplies accordingly. So as I'm gathering supplies for my camping trip, I like to segregate items that are just camping items. The bedding that I use is only used for camping. The cooking utensils that I use for camping are only used for camping, which makes things easier because then you have all of your supplies together and it doesn't get thrown into the rest of the stuff for your house. You have your camping stuff and you have your house stuff. Having separate items for camping does not have to be expensive. Most of the things that we use I have found at thrift stores. When gathering up supplies for your camping trip, I recommend starting a couple weeks before your camping trip, because the week right before your camping trip is always centered around getting food ready and getting clothes ready and getting your house ready for yourself to go on vacation. So it's a very stressful time and there's not a lot of time in which to do everything. So if you have items like your toiletries, your bedding, your cooking utensils, if you have those items already set aside, you don't have to worry about it. So some of the things that I pre-pack every time I go camping are personal items, the bedding, our equipment obviously, and then outerwear. So let me go through that a little better. Personal items. Does someone in the family have contacts? Make sure they have contact solution, extra contacts, that sort of thing. Make sure you have a first aid kit, chargers for your devices, that sort of thing. Those are all things that you can gather ahead of time and put in a certain area. The second thing is bedding. Pillows, blankets, air mattresses, all that kind of thing. Anything that has to do with sleeping can be pre-packed and ready to go. And then your gear, whether it be a tent or your camper, chairs to sit outside, tablecloth for your picnic table, that sort of thing. Those are all things that can be pre-packed and ready to go. And also, last thing would be outerwear. Summertime you really don't need a whole lot, but sometimes it rains. So do you have rain gear? Do you have boots that you want to bring? Is it going to be sunny out? Are you going to need sunscreen? That sort of thing. All that sort of thing can be pre-packed. Alright, after I've gathered up all the supplies that I need, that I can think of to bring, I get a big container like this. This is an 18-gallon container, and I use a couple different ones. One I'll use for the bedding items, and then the other one I will use for personal items like, I don't know, whatever I can think of or whatever I need to bring. So then I have these two bins. They're already pre-packed. I know everything is in there and I don't have to worry about it. I can put that aside until it's time to go. So the next major thing to pre-pack is clothing. Not so much clothes that you're going to wear every day, but items like swim gear, hats, shoes, coats, rain gear, that sort of thing. I always make sure that I have one pair of shoes for everyone, and they normally stay in the camper, but sometimes they get worn home, so they need to go back into my camping supplies when we're done camping. I also make sure that everyone has a sweatshirt, has at least one jacket that's rain repellent, that I have their swimming suits and like towels, that sort of thing, and then hats. When you're outside, it is nice to wear a hat to keep the sun off your face, even though you're wearing sunglasses. Sunglasses is another thing that you may want to pack. So that is what I like to pre-pack for in regards to clothing. Alright, the final major item that you need to pre-pack or pre-plan is your food. This is major, especially if you're going on a long trip like we do for 1 week at a time with 5 people. That's a lot of food to deal with, and we have to keep it cold in coolers until we get to our camper. So the first major thing that I need to make sure that I have prepared ahead of time is ice blocks. And to do that, I fill up milk jugs with water and freeze them. I also use like pop bottles and freeze those, because a chunk of ice will last much longer than cubes of ice. Let me show you a clip of what I mean. This is what my frozen blocks of ice look like. On the left I have a 1 liter pop bottle, and on the right I have a 1 gallon milk jug. So that is how I make ice blocks for my coolers. So the next thing would be to prepare your food for packing it into the cooler. One thing I find that makes the most impact is taking all of your meat items out of their original packaging. The original packaging is big, it's bulky, so I take the meat out of their original packages and put them into Ziploc freezer bags. This saves a ton of space. Then, once I have them in the bags, I freeze those bags so that when I'm ready to pack my cooler, the meat goes into the cooler frozen, which keeps it colder longer. In this first bag, I have some frozen hamburger patties. And in the second bag, I have placed some chicken breast. All of your other food items. For vegetables and for fruit, I like to pre-cut all those and put them into bags. Also, it just makes things so much easier when you're at the campsite. You don't have to do all that prep work. It's taken care of, so you can actually relax when you're camping. So boxed food, canned food, bread, all that sort of thing, I use another bin. It makes it very easy to have a bin like that for your food, especially if you're tent camping, because that bin, you can just bring it out when it's time to make your meals, and then you can put it back away into the car because you don't want your food sitting out, obviously, to attract animals. So having a bin like that is very helpful, whether you're tent camping or if you're in a camper, because carrying a bin is much easier than carrying a whole bunch of smaller like grocery bags. So highly recommend using the bin for like your dry goods and that sort of thing. Another thing with food is beverages. A lot of times if you're bringing like soda or juices, that sort of thing, you may want to pre-chill those so that you're not putting them into the cooler in a warm state, which will diminish your ice quite a bit. Another thing you want to bring is water, drinking water. We don't drink the water out of our camper. It's just basically for washing and showering and that sort of thing. So we bring our own drinking water, which is especially good to do if you haven't been to the place that you're going to camp at, because some places do not have very good water. So bringing your own water is a good thing to do. However, bottled water gets very expensive very fast. So what we have done is purchase 2 of these jugs. These are 5-gallon jugs, and we fill them up with water before we go. And then everyone has their own personal water bottle, which they fill up from the big jug. Saves a lot of money, and it's a whole lot less hassle than carrying, cases of water. Then from there we can either flavor our water or drink water plain, whatever we want to do. It also works good for my husband's coffee. So once the jug is empty, we just refill it with the water from the campground, because most of the campgrounds we go to, we know that the water is good. So anyways, using the big jugs to fill up with water at home before you go has saved us quite a bit of money and hassle in the last couple of years. So I highly recommend using those for your drinking water. I think that's all I have for pre-packing of your supplies, so let's go on to often forgotten items. Alright, so let me just go through a quick list of things that I think newer campers don't remember to bring. The first thing being clothesline or rope in order to hang up wet towels, wet swimsuits, that sort of thing. Comes in very handy. The second thing is tweezers. It always seems like somebody gets a sliver or something and a tweezers is needed, and if you don't have a tweezers, it is very frustrating. So bring a tweezers. The next thing, a hat and a pair of sunglasses. You're going to be outside. You're going to be in the sun. Protect your eyes, protect your head. It keeps you feeling much, much cooler. The next thing being something to start a fire with. Because you're camping, you're going to want to sit around the campfire. You're going to need some matches, some lighters, some fire starters, whether you buy the little sticks from the store or you make your own. And finally, a tarp and some rope or bungee cords. This will come in very handy if you are camping and it's raining all the time. Most of your camping sites are going to have trees, and you can use that tarp with the rope or the bungee cords to make a makeshift awning over like your campfire ring or your picnic table or whatever, so it gives you a little bit of outside space to be in if it's raining. Comes in very, very handy, and we have on many occasions sat underneath a tarp that is over our fire ring and had a campfire while it was like pouring rain around us, and it's actually quite nice. So bring a tarp, bring something to tie it up to the trees with. Alright, so the next thing I'd like to talk to you about is what to do after your camping trip to help you get ready for your next camping trip. So what I like to do when I get back from a camping trip is to reassess our personal items. Did we go through all of our lotion? Did we go through all of our bug spray, shampoo, our soap, that sort of thing? Did we run out of all of our paper plates or all of our napkins? So I'll make a list of all the items that I need to replace, and I'll repurchase them as soon as possible and put them into my camping supplies. That way next time I'm ready to go camping, I don't have to worry about any of that. It's all ready to go. So the next thing I like to do is wash any of our bedding, sleeping bags, jackets, anything like that that's washable, and get that washed, dried, and repacked into the camping supplies. So once again, when I'm ready to go camping next time, I know that all of my camping towels are clean, all of my bedding is clean and ready to go. So the next thing I like to do is to clean out my coolers. They tend to get a little dirty when you're camping, so I like to wash them, wipe them down, and let them air dry for a day or so, and then I'll pack them away. But before I do that, I grab my water jugs and I throw those inside the cooler so they're all together and ready to go. Alright, so that is it for me today. Thanks so very much for watching. Hopefully some of my ideas you will find helpful for your next camping trip. If you have any questions at all, leave it in the comments below and I'll make sure to answer it. Thanks so much for watching today, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!